Hi everybody, I'm going to do a quick walkthrough of this junk journal and signature and tag booklet. This became a really big project, and so it's a junk journal, and the video, or the end of this video, will be kind of a walkthrough or process of how I ended up making my signatures. The first thing I want you to know is that these tags are graphic 45 tags, and you can get those from the Country Craft Creations. And all I did, I have the die that mats this perfectly. That can be purchased at the online store too. But all I did was add some of the paper on the front and some matching on the back. And I plan to use this for journaling. And then once I've done it, I have some pocket spaces inside my book that I can stick these in, or I can just leave this as kind of like an accessory that's on the side. But my book was becoming so fat that I couldn't add a whole lot more. So I love the paper so much, I don't really want to cover it up with anything. I mean, I might add pictures, but I don't know, I kind of want to leave it the paper. And maybe I'll add the pictures on the back, I don't know. So there's that. Now I started off by making 4 signatures. That was way too many, and so you'll hear me say that later on in the video when I'm walking, or when I'm doing the process. But I ended up making a separate little journal. This was the 4th signature, and I could not get it to fit. So in this book signature is a pocket. I still have to glue this down. It's not done, but this is made out of a paper bag. And when you open it, it has some compartments. Let me just show you real quick. But I'm going to glue one on the front of the signature and one on the back. But when you open it, it's just kind of like a little wallet, and you can put things in it. I used old book pages. This is the stamp that you can purchase that goes with the collection. So I stamped a couple of those. I like it that there's lines that you can journal on. Okay, and so I'm just going to close that with the seam binding and tie it, and then, like I said, I'll just attach it to the front cover. There's also one for the back cover that's made the same way. Okay, so that's that. Now inside I use different types of papers. I had some coffee dyed paper from a while ago. I don't really do coffee dyed papers now because it drives me insane. It's an all-day process. Just woof. You'll see that I have some real pretty dangly charms here at the bottom. I just attached my book with seam binding so that I can get papers in and out easier. And then I just have some random pictures, and I used all of the ephemera that comes that you can purchase with the Jane's Memoir collection. I have some other things that I just had in my stash, and that's what I like about junk journals, is you just kind of use what you already have. You don't have to be exact in your measurements. Not everything has to match perfectly. It's just you put things in that you like. I also have different sized pages. I have some fabric. I have some doilies. I have some lace, seam binding, chipboard, just everything. So this is just linen that I had that I cut to make a pocket. This is actually wallpaper. And so the inside books of my junk journal are pretty much the same. I left this open so something can be tucked behind. This was a bag, and I can become a pocket where I put one of those tags. I had some stickers in my stuff. So this is handwriting paper. This was an old typing book that I took apart. This stamp, no, not that one. There's another one that says Dear and Sincerely. That comes with the Jane's Memoir stamps. I had some appliques, some Robert Kincaid, a book that I took apart later on in the video. I can't remember his last name. It just came to me. So I added some of the extra paper. So this is kind of for me for writing things down, random pictures here and there. But and then this is how I attach it. I just put seam binding down the center. Sometimes I do poke the holes and thread it, but this one I didn't. Okay, so I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time with the signatures on the inside, showing you those because they're pretty much just a repeat of this. There's the other side of that bag. So then I cut off the end so I could open this one too and put a tag in. And then I left the front and back covers empty on all of them so that I could put pictures. So that is one book by itself. Now I have 3 others that I put in this book. So let me show you. First of all, let me go through something. In the video I wasn't going to have a closure, but it was just too fat. Look at that. It was just too fat and I couldn't, it had to be closed. So this is actually a doorknob that at one time Tammy carried in the store. I don't know if she still does, but it had a plate behind it, but it was too thick, so I just used the knob. And then I punched a hole and put an eyelet in the back and put some ribbon through so that I could close it and tighten it up a little bit. So you do see the seam binding on the edge, and that doesn't bother me. If it does then you would want to punch holes and attach your book differently. But this chipboard piece is from Blue Fern that she had in the store to go with this collection. Here's one of the ephemera pieces. I had some old buttons and appliques, and I had some trim. This was a doily. So let me just go through it real quick. How do I do this? And then watch. Whoo, it's going to be, look at that. Oh, it's beautiful, but it is chunky. So front cover's empty again, could be for a picture. All of my signatures are just a piece of cardstock, and I used Blue Fern paper on the front and the back, and that made it really sturdy. This paper is really heavy duty paper. Now, when possible, I tried to incorporate, this is it's a vintage picture. I'm on the hunt for more. We have some antique shops, but some of them are kind of pricey, but I love like 20s and 30s, the pictures of the girls from back then. And so you'll see that it's just really similar to the one I just showed you. I left all these open for pockets for inserts. This is just an index card with a piece of ephemera I had. I glued them all together and used the lace as a pocket. There's that stamp again. I have a hymnal that I took out some pages, some doilies. So this applique became a pocket. Okay. So the second signature looks like this. Again, you'll see a lot of similarities. And then the third signature looks like this. All right, so Big Bertha is what I should call this one. So then to tie it, I just kind of wrap the ribbon around, and then I take one piece, and then I just tie it in a bow. And that helps keep it from flapping open. But it's still big though, don't get me wrong. Okay. All right, so if you keep watching, you're going to see that I show you how to make these wallets. And you're going to see me make the cover, and I'll walk you through my process of the signatures. So if you're interested, keep watching. A lot of the materials you can get at countrycraftcreations.com. I will continue she's got other Blue Fern collections. Check them out. It's really thick, durable, heavy, beautiful paper. All right, everybody, have a great one, and keep watching if you want to see the process. I'm going to walk you through my process of how I make the junk journals. Everybody does it a little bit different, and I make them differently each time too. But this one's going to have a chipboard cover. I'm still going to be mainly using paper, but I will be incorporating some laces and some old fabric that I have found. But I want to really focus on the, what's it called? Jane's Memoirs paper. So we're going to wrap the cover like we normally do with Tammy's method. I always say Tammy's method. She deserves the credit. She came up with it. And so the book itself is going to be 6 by 8.5. And so I've wrapped the front cover, and it's just a regular wrap, and I'll do the back cover with you, and then I'll do the spine with you. And I'm going to go ahead and show you some of the things I found in my stash that I might use. So I have some fabric and some old stuff. I have some things that people have sent me or that I have found at estate sales, different doilies and things like that. And because it's a junk journal, you just want it to be things that you like, that you already have. And so some of these might match, some of them might not. At first it's kind of hard cutting these because they're old, but this one I think is really pretty. I don't know if it's going to match perfectly. I was going to use it on the spine, but I don't think it'll match the paper I chose for the cover well enough, but I could use it on the inside of my book. Then I have this vintage table runner, and I really like that embroidery there in the corner, so I might use that on the inside in my spine area. Not sure yet. What else did I find? I have some of this sheer. And let's see, I have this that I'm going to use on the cover. I'll have to cut it. And this trim, this rose trim, matches the paper really well that I chose for the front and back cover. And then I also have some of this that I plan on using. So I'm going to incorporate as much lace and fabric as I can and still have the paper be the focus. So let's go ahead and wrap our chipboard. So you'll need 2 pieces that are 6 by 8.5. And so when you wrap the front and back cover, you want 1 inch on the top and bottom and 1 inch on the side extra of your cardstock, so you can wrap it around and have that 1 inch border. I went ahead and already put adhesive. I used a score tape sheet on the back of this chipboard to lay it down. I just centered it so it's nice and smooth. I went ahead and mitered my corners at an angle. You don't go straight to the chipboard, you leave a little bit of a space. And then I went ahead and put my score tape around the perimeter of the chipboard and on the paper. So I'm also going to be using art glitter glue, and using a combination of the two has really made my covers stay nice and neat, and they stay together real well. I'm going to take the backing off of some of this score tape. Now I like to still do the mitered corners. I like the look of that, how it meets at an angle. You can do the square cutout where you just take out a square on the bottom if you like that better. I should have done this earlier. I like to train my paper so it knows where to fold or where to bend. So I'm just going to lift it up and push it down on up the chipboard against the paper when I stand it up, so it has that natural fold. And then I take a bone folder and just make sure I give it a good burnish so it has a nice crease along that edge. I usually do that before I take the backing off of the score tape, but I forgot. Alright, so what I'm going to do is place the glitter glue up against my chipboard, let it sit for a second to kind of soften it up, and then that's going to help when I am done wrapping this book. I'm going to go with my burnishing tool around the edge, and it's going to give it a real fine or real smooth, I don't know if you can see that very well, but it's really flat and smooth even on the edges. Okay, so let's go ahead and bring that up and over. And you do want to burnish that real well so it lays flat. And usually I do the long sides first. I'm kind of doing things backwards to what I normally do. I don't know why. I mean, it doesn't make a difference, but my normal is just to do the long sides. But I always do the opposite sides. So once I do one side, I do the one straight across from it. Why did I do that? That's so weird. I don't think I've ever done the short sides first. Alright, let's go ahead and put that glue. Then I fill in this empty space in between the chipboard and the score tape. And I'm going to burnish it. And then I come around the edge and just make sure that that paper is adhered to the chipboard real well and that it's smooth. So now when I do this side, I got to tuck in, there's a little excess paper in the corners, and that's so it covers your chipboard and you don't see the chipboard. So I'm just going to tuck those in and repeat the procedure with the glue. And let's take this off. Again, make sure you tuck in those the excess paper, and then bring your paper up and over. I like to have a dry wet wipe in case there's excess glue that comes out. The base paper I'm using is the chocolate brown Artisan Cardstock from Country Craft Creations. Honestly, once you use it, I don't think you'll ever go back to using any other paper. It is a little bit more than what you would get at a big chain store, but it is worth every penny because it lasts, it doesn't crack. Every once in a great while, and if it's really cold, I've had the black split just a hair, and I just go over it with a little bit of glue on my finger and rub over where I see it crack, but I think I've had to do that maybe once, twice tops. And I don't know what the deal was, if it was just too cold in my basement or what, but normally it never cracks. Okay, so let's go ahead and finish up our back cover. Like I said, I've already done one. Make sure those are in. And burnish. This technique of wrapping goes much faster, I think, than the other method that we normally do. I still use that method, especially if I have a book with, like a gatefold or something. I still use the old method. Alright, so our cover is nice, smooth, nice corners. You don't see the chipboard. I'm going to go ahead and do the spine now. Now I cut my spine a little bit different, and actually the spine I'm going to be doing is 3 by 8.5. You can do it any size you want. You only put score tape at the top and the bottom, and I've already put the score sheet on the back, and that's how I adhered it to the Artisan Cardstock. So I'm going to up and over on all my corners. The Artisan, I do still like it to have a 1-inch border at the top and the bottom. So if my book is 8.5, the paper's 10.5 tall. But on my spine, if my spine is 3 inches, I like to go 1.5 inches on each side, so instead of 1 inch, and it just lays flatter and nicer in the book. So if this is 3, my paper is 6 across. Okay, hope that makes sense. I'm just going to go ahead and burnish and really get this paper trained. And I go ahead and bring it up and over on this part. So you're going to get a square in the corner where the two pieces meet. So really take the time to burnish it at this point. And okay. All right, now it does make a square or a rectangle in the corner, and rather than cut out the whole square or miter it at an angle, we're going to take off a small triangle. So you can see that there is a square, let me get the right light, a square here in the corner where the two lines intersect. You're going to cut from the corner of the square to the opposite corner so that it takes off a triangle. Like so. So I just took off a triangle. And I'm going to do that to all 4 corners. And the 2 at the bottom also. So corner to corner. Okay. Now, unlike the front and back cover, we're not going to be folding these in. This is what's actually going to attach the front and back cover. So we leave these wings open. But I do want to get this paper burnished even more. So I'm going to now fold it to the opposite side. I just want to make sure that my book has a great crease so that when you open and close the book, it will work well for you. Now again, if you're not using the Artisan, you cannot always be as firm as I am when I do my burnishing. Okay, so you can actually see that chipboard, the indentation. All right, so let's go ahead and do the top and the bottom. And to do that, we are going to take off this backing. And I just use the glue. And so you're going to place glue on this whole top section. And I am generous with it. Okay. And bring it up and over. And we're going to burnish that. Give it a chance to dry. Okay. We're burnishing the edge here. Okay, and we're going to do the same thing to the opposite end. So go ahead and take off the backing. Place glue on this top section. Okay, and up and over. Burnish to get it to lay down nice and flat. Go ahead and burnish the end, the edge. Okay, so now we need to, if you use this just like this to connect your book, you might see this paper at the top of your book, and we don't want that. So we are going to angle it, do a slight taper. So get your scissors, and I'm just going to rest my scissors up against the chipboard and slightly cut at an angle. Okay, do that to all four corners. That's what we have on that end, and now the other end. I don't take as strong as a taper. It's a slight one. I don't take a big chunk out. All right, so let's see. I'm just going to burnish some more. All right. So now we're going to attach the front and the back cover by placing our spine in between the two pieces, and we're going to glue them together so that they are connected. Let's see here. All right, so I'm going to run a piece of score tape with the chipboard facing down. So I have my two wings here. I'm going to use some score tape to help it connect. So again, I use a combination of the tape and the glue. And it's almost all the way to the chipboard. I mean, there's like maybe an 1/8 of an inch or a 1/16 of an inch away. And do that on the other side also. Almost right up to the chipboard. Alrighty. Always make sure you burnish that so that the tape backing comes off easily, or easier for you. Alright, so then we're going to take this piece, turn it upside down, and we're going to place it right up against this chipboard piece, like so, right up against it. So don't worry about leaving any kind of spacing. We want it to bump up and right up in there. So I'm going to remove the backing, and then I'm going to add glue in between the two pieces of score tape. And here it is. I might just put a hair on here just to make sure it grabs well. Alright, turn it upside down. Bump it right up against that chipboard. Press down. And then turn it over and burnish it real well. Now by doing the extra 1/2 inch on the wing, it covered that 1 inch piece of paper, and that's why it lays flatter and nicer. You don't have that bump or that ridge that you normally would. Okay, give that a chance to dry before you start bending it. Same thing on this side. I'm going to turn it this direction. Okay, I'm going to add some glue in between. Just a little bit. Alright, bump it right up against that chipboard, lining it up on the top and the bottom. And push down, turn it over, and burnish. Now I'm still trying to decide as I go here how I'm going to attach my signatures. And when I say signatures, I'm talking about a section of papers that I'm going to use that are in like a little mini booklet. And I'm going to have probably 3 or 4 signatures that I attach. Sometimes I use, I put a hole in my spine and I weave through the elastic band. Sometimes I use ribbon. A lot of times, because I want to be able to change the signatures or add to them, or I can take it out if I make a mistake, sometimes I just use ribbon, and then I wrap the ribbon around so it kind of adds decoration, and then the ribbon I leave longer so it, you know, dangles out the bottom. Until I do it, I don't know which method I'm going to do right now. Either one will work. Okay, and then there is your junk journal cover. Everything lays out nice and flat, and it's smooth. So then what I did was I looked at the papers, and I knew that I probably I want to wrap some sort of fabric or lace around the edges. So there was a picture I wanted of a girl, but it was over here on this side, and I knew it would be covered with the lace. So when I picked out my paper, I thought, okay, I need something that has more decoration on the right hand side. So the paper I chose looks like this, and because my cover is 6 inches, I cut this 5 7/8, and because it's 8 1/2, I did it 8 3/8 long. I did want it to look more junky or vintage, so I did take my sewing machine, which I just got and learned how to use, and did a zigzag around the outside, And then I took my Tim Holtz Distress tool. I went around the edges, and then I inked my edges using, what did I use? Ground espresso. So you can see there's a little bit of brown on the edges. Okay, so that's how I prepared my cover paper. So that's going to go here, and I'm just going to adhere that with glue. And I'm even okay with not gluing it to the very edge. Like, I want it to look rough, so it's okay if it lifts a little bit. I took the back is going to be the same paper. Okay, and I did the same thing with the zigzag, the roughing it up on the edges, and then using the brown ink, and that's going to be my back, like so. So I'm still trying to decide on the spine paper. I will probably sew that also around the edge, but I'm trying to decide if I want this to wrap around a little bit. Maybe, but I also was thinking, I'm just sharing my thought processes here. If this is my front cover, I do like the idea of having this near the bottom, and then maybe this on top, or like I'll have to cut it, but then have some of this down here at the bottom. And I do like this, so maybe this across. It's about layering, and so I want to really make sure I get my vintage look by layering laces. But I feel like I'm going to need some, well, I'm going to cut out that picture of that girl I liked, and I'm going to put it up here. I just don't know how I'm going to, if I'm going to have a frame, if I'm going to have a doily, don't know yet. But I think this is what I'm going to do for the bottom. And this I will attach with hot glue after I put this on the book cover. So next we are going to work on the inside of the book and our signatures. I went ahead and put on a piece of brown Artisan in the center to cover the spine. I made it an inch longer on each side, and I'm going to apply, I changed my mind on what I'm going to do on the outside cover. I'm going to cover it with fabric first. So I've decided to use, well, this fabric. And I have different kinds of glue that I tried to see which one would work best. And I don't know how well you're going to see this, but this is the art glitter glue. And so I don't want to be able to see all those streaks. So I can't use that. In the center, I use something that's almost like Fabri-Tac. It's a little bit different. It's called Collall or something like that. But it's basically a Fabri-Tac. And then on this side, I used soft gel medium, and that one's okay. When I first put it on, it kind of made the paper look purple, but now that it's drying, it's looking better. But when I tug on it, oh, that one's pretty good too. These two are the best. On the other side, I used Mod Podge and some tonic glue, and that it's like it's removable. I mean, it comes right up. So I'm going to go with the one that's closest to Fabri-Tac, I guess. I'm sure that'll dry clear, but so anyway, there was my test. This holds, the art glitter glue holds well, but because of the fabric I'm using, it's sheer. I don't want to see any streaking. And I'll try and use a brush here to spread out the glue. So here's what I'm thinking now, because I keep changing my mind. I'm thinking that I will wrap now on top of the paper this fabric, and I'll bring it around just like it were paper. I'm going to go ahead and, you know, miter my corners and all that kind of stuff, but it's going to look like this. Okay, and I did use the netting at top instead of using this whole thing, the whole pattern across the whole front. And then I'm using I got the Blue Fern Emma's Treasures chipboard, and I'm using the frame, and that's going to go up there. And then the reason why I changed my mind is because I love that girl's picture, and so I want that on my cover. And then I'll just put more laces and stuff on the front. So the papers that I sewed on will go on the inside cover, like so. Now I'm also going to cover my spine on the inside with this also. Oh, that's this way. Okay. So it's going to look like that on the inside. And I kind of like that. Sorry, I dropped something. Okay. So I'm going to miter my corners of my, I'm kind of nervous about this. I can always cover it with a bunch of laces if I can see it though, right? Right. Now I do have some adhesive temporary, you know what, let me try that. Hold on, let me get it. Okay, I'm going to spray this tacky spray on my book, and then I'm going to lay it on the fabric. That's what I'm going to do. I hope I'm not going to regret this. Okay. And it says that I need to have a well-ventilated area. Well, this is as good as it's going to get. And to spray 6 to 8 inches above the surface. Turn this over. Ooh, I'm going to have to clean my desk now. Now let me see if this will close. Yep. Use this roller. I hope this is a good idea. Ooh, it does have a smell. Let me get a wet wipe and get the excess glue off my desk. Okie dokie. I mitered the corners of the fabric. I did one side to make sure it was working. Let me get my scissors out of the way here. Okay, so I'm taking this glue and I'm just running it across the bottom. And it kind of spits out a little bit. I'm going to smooth that out. And I had a wet wipe somewhere. And I'm going to bring this up and over. Ugh. And I might end up trimming this. Yeah, I got glue all over the place. Okay. So now I need to do the short sides. Okay, so we'll run some glue over here. And I'm probably just going to do a little bit at a time, tuck that around that corner. I think that'll be all right. And remember, it's going to be covered by paper. Okay, let me try this side. And glue. Oh, shoot, I probably got too much. I hate getting my fingers so dirty. Okay. Oopsie, get down there. I'm going to let that dry for a second, and I'm going to trim the excess, and then I'll glue the paper down. Glued down the fabric in the center, doing the same thing I did before. I didn't use the spray adhesive, but I just used this to lay that down. And then I placed the blue fern paper on the cover, and I just clothes pinned it down just to make sure it was staying. I did use this on the paper too, being as it was going to be attached to fabric. So now I'm going to do this side, and I'm going to use this glue. And I don't care if the corners lift, because that kind of gives it an older look to me. So even though I want it, to lay down for the most part, if it lifts a little bit, I'm okay with that. I think that makes it look aged. Ugh, glue strings everywhere. This paper seems a little... Okay. Now I'm going to just roll this on top of it just to kind of give it a stick here. And then clothespins. The good thing about a junk journal is it's okay if it's not perfect. It can be a little messy, and that's okay. I need more clothespins, it looks like. Okay. Now, I think I need to add some glue. Yeah. Just kind of go around the edges then and see where you might need to put a little bit more glue. And then I'm going to, it's okay to decorate the cover of this one, because the pages, it's not like a hinge system. It's individual signatures that you put inside. So it's okay to decorate and not worry about getting your cover messed up while you keep opening and closing the book, because we attach them differently. All right, down here. Okay. Ugh, this stuff is gross. So messy. I need a wet wipe. Okay. Next step, I'm going to go back to the front cover once this dries, and let's see what we can come up with. Okay, I have been going through how I want to lay out my cover, and I think I finally have it. So I have my glue gun started, and I'm just going to start gluing things down and layering things. I have like pinks and some light beige color. I don't want everything to look too much the same color, because then things will kind of wash out a little bit. So let's see if my glue gun is ready. It is. So I'm just going to lay down a little piece here just so that I know it's not going anywhere. And here we go. This is the fun part for me. I don't really like my glue gun though. Too much comes out at once. I need more of a needle nose, or whatever you call it, thin tip. Okay. And you can fast forward this part if you're not interested in this part, but I sometimes like to watch people's process to know what they're thinking when they lay it out. So now I'm going to come back to this side and make sure it's down. Oh, I hate this glue gun. I don't hate it, but for this fine work, this tiny stuff, it's hard to control how much. Oh, I know why. The glue stick wasn't all the way in. It wasn't coming out. So I need a new glue gun if you're looking for a Christmas gift for me or a birthday present. If my husband's watching this, or if my kids are watching this, Or in the comments, if you have a recommendation for a good glue gun, let me know, because I am not digging this one. It's taking forever. Okay, that'll do. Ugh, strings. That's another thing, I hate all those strings that come off. Okay, so there is the start. Now I did take a picture of the way I wanted it so that I could refer to it, because I already forgot what I had. Oh, I need to know the order that I'm going to layer things. So let me get my picture up on my phone. Okay, so next I need to do this piece, and this is just going to go up at the top, and I do need to trim it because I'm going to have this on top. And that kind of gives it a background. So I need to trim from this flower. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 up on each side. And there's lines in here, so it might be easier for me to cut it straight. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I'll just do it like this. Oh, I lost the line. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, that's not straight, people. What did I do? Well, darn it. I screwed up. No, it's not. I can just fix that over here. Is that straight now? No. I went to the wrong line. I don't cut fabric very well either. I'm so used to working with paper. Okay, now it's right. So this is going to go just across the top like so. So I lay it where I want it, and then I just come around and start lifting pieces and laying them down so it doesn't move. This glue gun, come on. It's frustrating me. Okay. I also usually have my this out when I use my glue gun so I don't burn my fingers. Alright, now let's go around and see where I need to add glue here and there. Alright. Again, if you're bored, fast forward. I just thought it would be interesting to watch the process. I didn't get much glue on here. Okay, so now I'm just going to put a line up across the top. Keep that down. And see one little spot here. Okay, so now ouch. Let's see, what do I need to do next? Let me look at my picture. Okay, so I have the frame next. So actually I'll put the picture down and then the frame. And I am going to use glue gun on the picture. And it's going to be okay if my frame hangs off a little bit from the top of the book. That won't bother me. But I love that image. So now this will go like so. Now I want to make sure, I'm going to try my art glitter glue for this because I need a fine line. And Lord knows that glue gun is not a fine line. Yeah, this is really good. All right. And just putting some at the tips that are going to be on the book. I don't really want this to lift up as much. Enough. Okay, let's try this. Now this will dry clear. I'm probably going to end up using paper clip. I keep saying paper clips. Clothespins, just to make sure it stays down. Reach. Look at all this glue everywhere. Okay, so now I'm going to go down towards the bottom here, and I'm going to put this down here. Like so. And I'll add some layers on top of it. This glue is kind of a yellow color and I don't know why. Okay. And this doesn't have to be perfectly straight because I'm going to put something on top of it. I do want to make sure that the end is on there real well. And on this side. Ow. Okay. So now I'm going to put some of this on top. So I need to cut it right here. And it's okay if it comes off the book a little bit. Let me make sure that's how I had it. Yes, that's what I did. Okay. All right. Now I can lift this up and just put it. If I can learn how to fast forward this video, I will do that so that you guys don't have to watch this. Okay, next. Okay. Next, I was going to add a metal piece here, and I have some pretty pink with sparkles, so that metal will kind of poke out and just give it some excitement. I'm just going to put glue on the bottom half, I think. Okay. And then, oh my gosh, glue strings everywhere. Now this book looks uneven at the angle, but once it's up sitting straight it looks better. This is going to go here. Why is that glue going everywhere? I think I've heard that it's too hot or something when that happens. I don't know. But you gotta have it hot. And this side. Okay. See, layers, layers, layers. I think I have this button over here. On that flower. Let's see how this frame is sticking. Pretty good. And I think I'll put a heart up here. Now I just have this to stick on here, and then is that enough? I think so. And this one I'm going to use glue gun too, so that it's thicker glue and it sticks up better. Ooh, that's hot, I can feel it. And this is from the ephemera, from Jane's Memoirs. Alright, does that look good enough? I think so. Okay, now I'm going to do something on the inside and back side cover. Before I get to the signatures, I want to work on the inside front cover and the back cover. So the inside, I'm going to have these little wallet things attached. I'll have one on the front and one on the back, and it's just going to be closed with seam binding. I didn't need to cover the back, so I'm going to glue that down. But this is made out of a paper bag. You might have seen this before, and then when you open it, it's going to have some little pockets to hold some tags. So this is the stamp set that comes with this collection that I have. I thought that would be good for journaling. And then I just used some of the extra paper for the other ones. The pockets are actually made of old book pages, but the one I'm going to make next to show you, I'm going to use paper bags instead of the book pages. So let me show you how to do that real quick. So one front, one on the back. These are the bags that I'm talking about for the pockets. I had purchased these a while ago and I got like 50 of them. So we're going to trim these off for our little wallet envelopes or pockets. So this is just a paper bag, and we're going to fold it. This bag, you can use whatever size you need, but this one measures about a little bit, I'd say about 8 3/4 by about 4 1/2. And so what we want to do is open it up, and it might get noisy, but and after you open it up, you want to push out the sides, and we're going to flatten it. And so we need to get this so that it lays down. So we want these to come out also. Might have to work with it a little bit to get it nice and flat. Now I'm going to take my bone folder and go around it too. Oh, I got something sticky on there. Puckered. Let's see here. Put my hand in there. Alright, I don't like how this is going in. There. Alright, I'm going to make that work. Alright, sheesh, that took more effort than I thought. And then I'm just going to go through and flatten those sides. And we're covering it with paper, so it won't be, the ripples won't be seen too much. And I don't like that. There we go. Okay. And then we're going to take this and fold it up and burnish it again. And it's a junk journal, it doesn't have to be perfect. I keep telling myself that. Okay, so the front is just a little bit lower than the back, and that's totally fine. Bags are not always uniform. And then I'm just going to take my glue and I'm just going to seal this closed. Okay. And lay that down. Make sure it's adhered. Okay. Now, you can kind of decide on the measurements. So this actually becomes the top closure. So how far up do you want this? And I want these two to be pretty much the same. So let me just, I think that was a little bit more. Now I could measure it, couldn't I? I'm going to go ahead and go with that. If they're not the same, that's okay. One's in the front, one's in the back. You're not going to notice it that much. And then let's bring this over. Ugh. That's going to bug me. Okay, so there is our wallet. And now you're going to have to measure the space, or how high you want your pockets to be. So this, I don't want it to go over this lip. I don't want to see it when I open it. This is about 3 1/16, so I'm going to go probably 2 7/8-ish. I'd rather they be a hair long than too short, and then I can always adjust. And see, that's going to be a pocket you'll have room on each side, and that's totally fine. So let's cut these to about, to start, maybe I'll go just 3 inches. So let me get my cutter. You guys, I have so much stuff out here on the table. Gotta get it out of the way. Okay. 3 inches is what I think I said. Or pretty close. Okay, so here 3 inches, and then they open like so for the pockets. So we're going to attach these with all the openings at the top. And when we adhere these, I made an album similar to this, like the accordion style that we're making. You don't glue the whole thing with the one in back of it. You are going to do a section in the center. And I actually just use a glue stick. Or you can, I'll just use art glitter. Well, I don't know why, but I've always used a glue stick when I do this. So this is the Yoo-Hoo glue. And so I'm just going to have this over on the back, and I'm going to place glue on the inside middle section, and I'm going to line these up, make sure they're together in the right spot, and press down. Okay, now we're going to add the next pocket. So let's add glue to the center. Line them up. Burnish. And we have one more. Glue in the center. This doesn't hold, these are thin bags, and so I'm not going to put anything major in these pockets. It'll just be like a tag, so they don't have to be super sturdy. Okay. So this will allow you, by just doing it in the center, it will allow you to accordion that, and then there's there's room for it to grow. So what we're going to do is we're going to end up gluing the back, that middle section, and the middle section in the front. Now see, I can see that, but actually it doesn't bother me because, oh, there we go, if I glue it in the right spot. And so we're going to end up gluing those so that one's attached to the front and one is attached to the back. Now before I do that though, I do want to cover my paper with pattern paper. When I was making my book, I had some scraps, and I love this paper so much, you can't let these go to waste. So I'm going to paper piece my paper onto this little wallet, and I'm going to make it work because I don't want to waste anything. So I'm going to do some measuring. Now when you get to the front, you'll notice I used the brown paper, and so I'm just going to measure, it's about 2 1/4. So I'm going to cut my brown paper 2 1/8, and then I'm going to lay it underneath, and I'm going to draw so I know how to cut it. Okay, so let me go ahead and cut my papers, and then I'll be back. I paper pieced the wallet, okay, and I added a few embellishments, and now I'm going to attach, we got to make sure that the opening is at the top, and I'm going to center it in the wallet, and I'm going to go ahead and place glue on the center just like we did before, and I'm just going to close this on top. I don't think I like the way that lined up. Okay. sure that sticks. Let's see. Okay, and now we're going to put glue on the back center. And close it. Alrighty, and so now we have our accordion pockets. Now this is also a pocket, and that's where I'm going to store extra ephemera. That's from the paper bag. So to keep it closed, I'm going to need some seam binding, and this matches real well. This is from the store also, and I'm going to spray it with water. And just roll it around so it gets that crinkled look. Okay, that makes it kind of look aged, and then I'm going to go ahead and tie a knot at the end to make sure that it doesn't unravel or start to fray too much. And I'll trim off that excess. I'm going to go ahead and tie it in a bow to see how much I'm going to need. Okay, and that was the right amount, so I'm going to go ahead and just tie a knot here. Maybe. Here we go. Alright, like so. And we can trim that some more if we need to, but I'd rather have too much than not enough. Alright, so there's that. Now inside, yeah, that's going to have to be trimmed. I don't like that, it's too big. Inside the pockets, all I'm going to do is take some of my scraps, and these, I have 3x4 brown pieces, and then I inked the edge of my scraps, so these would be 2 7/8 by 3 7/8. And these are just going to be places where you can add pictures to the back, or journal with a white pen. Okay, and I'm going to do 4 of them. Like I said, that first pocket from the bag is just going to be where I store extra ephemera. And then this one. Now the other 2, I'm going to use that stamp. That's from the Blue Fern. Goes with the collection that we're using. I think it's perfect for journaling. Alright. I use that spray adhesive, and I got on my board. I'm going to have to take it upstairs and wash it with soap and water to get that stickiness off. Alright, so now I'm going to use the Artisan linen colored, and I'm going to stamp the journaling piece. This is called London Souvenir, this stamp collection. And I have one of these misty thingies. I bought it used, and I hardly ever use it. I forget that I have it. Oh crud, I want that off. Okay, I have so much stuff on my desk, it's getting cluttered. So I'm going to place the paper. I like to do it in the corner. Magnets hold it down, maybe. So it doesn't move. And then I like to lay my stamp. Ooh, that's close. That is not good. I think I'm going to need bigger. It hangs over. Yeah, I'm going to make it work. Okay, so that's where I want it. So I'm going to close the lid so that it sticks. That was not supposed to come up. Darn it. Okay, ink my image or my stamp. And most of it's going to fit on there. Push down, and I'm going to ink it again. That's what's good about this, is it's exactly in the same spot, so you can keep inking until you get the color that you want. And I think I'm going to do it one more time. That works. And I'll glue that on the paper, and I'll journal on that. And I'm going to do one more. Ink it up. Push. And that works. That's good. Okay, so I'll glue those together. Turn this off. Get this out of the way. Try and get organized. Okay. So I'm going to glue this real quick rather than stop the video. I want to keep on, I'm on a roll here. And you can emboss these so that, you know, it looks a little bit more finished, but I'm not a big, I don't really emboss a whole lot of my inking. Just probably, oh, that's smeared, because of the time. Okay, like so. Make sure it's dry. Okay, so now the signatures. Let me show you what I do for signatures. Alright, so I'm going to take an 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper, and I trimmed it down to 8 1/4 by, yep, this is 8 1/4 by 11, so that's the best use of your paper, is if you have 8.5 by 11 sheets. Scored it at 5 1/2, and then I fold it, and I want it to look aged, so I took my distress ink and went around the edges. So I still need to do that on the front cover, and this can be messy because the paper I'm cutting to go on top almost goes to the very edge, so I just need enough to cover up those very edges. I'm using ground espresso, so I don't even worry about like the swirling motion because it's going to be covered up. I just want that aged look on the edge. Okay, so it's fast. This one might not be as dark as I like it. Do it on the back. Now the signature is going to hold the other papers. It's going to be the cover. This is of what is going to hold the other papers inside. And I'm still looking, a lot of times I like to use pages from a variety of different books, not just books that have print, but pictures on it also. So I'm going to see if I can go find a book that has some like flowers in it or something like that. You're going to want different sizes, different, like you can fold doilies, envelopes. These, when I cut off the bags, I had this extra. I can glue this in the book and make 2 pockets. So there's a variety of things that we can do. Okay, that's that. Fast and easy. So when you fold it, it is 5.5 by 8 1/4. So the paper I chose, I went 8 1/8 by 5 3/8. Okay, so you can see it pretty much goes edge to edge. Now this blue firm paper is super thick, so it's going to be a good cover for the signature. Now I do want to ink this around the edge, so I just cut it 1/8 of an inch smaller than the base paper. And you're going to want 4 of those. So I do the front and back cover inside and outside. Looks good. Let's burnish it, especially on the corners. The edges. Okay, let's do the back piece. So this is the I want the same one. Nope, is that right? That doesn't look right to me. Where's the other piece that I want? That is right actually. Okay, and it looks like I already inked this one. So let's just glue this to the back like so. And I'm doing 4 signatures, if I haven't already said that. And I already made the other 3, and I'll show you those in just a second. There. Okay. I love this paper. It's so rich looking. Oh, a little excess glue coming out of there. Now, again, to build the stability, I'm using the same blue fern collection on the inside, and that's going to make your paper real, or your covers real sturdy. And I just used these 2 pieces for this. Now, there's going to be papers in between, so these aren't going to be, I think I want this. Yeah, I want like that. So you won't see these when they're open. There's going to be other stuff in between them. Then the fun part is decorating the covers, finding little things to add to the papers we're going to put inside, just to give it some, not just pockets, but like little snippets of things. Alrighty. Fast forward the gluing if you don't need to see this. But I'm going to show you a couple that I've started the decorating on, at least on the covers. Now, when I put this papers on the inside, I'm probably going to try and find about 6 sheets that I fold in half, so that makes 12 total once it's folded. That's about the right size so that I can add some decoration, and because that'll add a little bit of bulk. And I don't want it to have so many pages that I can't add the decorating in. I don't want my book, the last book I made, it's too much of an alligator mouth. It opens way too much, and I don't want it to be quite that. I like it to be junky, but I don't want it to be open as much as the other one was. I am going to add lace on the edges of my paper so that there's, you know, that's going to add some thickness to it too. Okay, so that is the base of our signature. How beautiful is that, even before you decorate. So let me show you what I'm thinking of, what I've been doing. So here's an example of one, and I found some trim and made it kind of go around the girl to accent her, I have a metal piece, and then I have a bauble of some sort that's got flowers in it. So that's how I've started decorating that. I might add some more. This one, I have a applique back here, and I had this frame with this girl. I don't know if you can see her. And this is just a clip, a hair clip. And I just clipped that to the side. And then I'll still add a few things here. Then the last one, all I've done is add some of this trim here and a metal piece here. So again, I'll add some more things. But this is what I'm talking about with the signatures. Now I have some coffee dyed paper, which I hate coffee dyeing, so there's not going to be very much. I like the feel of it and stuff and the look, but I don't have the time and the patience to make all that. And you just fold it in half, and then here's a doily that'll go next. And so now I want to find, I've had an envelope, and I added a hinge that I might attach here, or I could attach here. This can go over a little bit. I could even attach it this way. So now let me gather my supplies for the inside so you can see how I go about doing that. It is time to move on to signatures, the inside. So just as a reminder, my book is 8.5 inches tall. So this signature, or the outside, is 8 1/4, and then I cut my pages 8 inches tall. Just so that I don't have too much messy look, because when I add lace, I have a lot of things hang out, so I don't want it to be too much. So what I do is I just start looking for different papers that I have, and because this has a vintage feel, I do love to use coffee dye paper. Now let me tell you, I hate coffee dyeing and tea dyeing paper. It's monotonous. Some people say it's relaxing and fun. No, I hate it. If I could buy it that way, I would, and I probably could on Etsy, but I like the feel and the look. So because I don't like doing it myself, I use a variety of other papers instead. And if I ever get in the mood to tea dye or whatever, I make a bunch, and then hopefully it lasts for a long time. So anyway, so the outside, my book is, or my signature is, I think about 5.5 inches wide. So my pages are about 5.5 also. So I just start taking papers and folding them in half. This is from an old typing book that I got at the Goodwill, and I thought, that would work. I have some regular watercolor paper. Here's a tea dyed, believe it or not, doily. This is a bag that I cut, and so it's open, it becomes like a pocket. This is what's that artist's name? His name is, that one guy, Robert somebody maybe. What the heck is that guy's name? I'm gonna say Robert Frost. I can't remember his name. That he's a famous scenery painter. I can't remember. Here's another coffee stained paper. It's folded just to give it a little flap. This is that manuscript paper. I think I got a pad at the dollar store. Another white piece. An old book page. This is wallpaper. So this curls, so whatever I put on here is going to have a little bit of weight to it, so I'll have to put some of the blue fern paper on here, or some heavy lace. This is from an adult coloring book. More white paper. Okay, so I don't want too many pages in my signatures because they do become pretty thick, and if I have 4 of these, they can't be too thick. I don't mind if my book spans out a little bit, but I don't want it too alligator mouth-ish, and I have a feeling that's kind of the route that I'm headed because I'm using a lot of lace. So what I do after I have folded these and decided how many pages, then I start picking out a bunch of random laces. Now this one came from Country Craft Creations, and it's a gold color, and it's lace 35, and I'm going to be using that on either my cover. I might use it on the cover of the signature, the pages, but I'll be using that. And then I just get some colors that I think will match. So I have some pink. I want it to stay the same in all 4 of my books, it's usually a gold, a pink, or a peach color, white, and cream. Okay, so I just grabbed some random ones from my stash. This is, already has adhesive on the back. That's a mauve color or pink. I have these appliques. This is a thicker lace. Sometimes it looks good just to have it on the whole page. And then I have some random laces. Okay, so then I just do my laces first and I start gluing them in different ways. So sometimes I do it on the edge. A lot of times I do it on the edge, the top or the bottom. I might do one across the center. I might make some of the lace a pocket. I use a hot glue gun and then I fill in as needed with art glitter glue. So let me show you one of the signatures I've already done. Okay, so see, that's what it's going to look like from the side then. And I have some coming out the top and a little bit out the bottom. I'm not done decorating my signatures yet, but so using a glue gun, I just added some pink trim. This side, nothing. This one I made a little pocket out of some lace. I had some linens that I cut and made a pocket by gluing the 3 sides. Some trim at the top. Remember, I still have to do paper and other embellishments. Here's one of those bags, and I put trim along the top, and I'll put a tag in there. This was from a collar, and I cut off the edge. Another little pocket. More trim. I love that gold trim right there. This is an applique I just put down at the bottom. So I'll just kind of go through this. Sometimes the trim hangs off, sometimes it doesn't. Not all pages have the lace. Across the top, side. Another one of those appliques down at the bottom. Here's a thick one, and I left it open to put something underneath. There's the other side of that bag. Okay, so that's what I do next. Now, some of them I get, let's see, what did I do? Here's another one. Just kind of show you, I repeat the laces, just put them in different places. Okay, so the laces add a lot. Glue gun and art glitter glue is what I use to keep it on. So they get pretty chunky, and that's why I have to be careful with how many pages I put in. So this one I put more towards the middle, and I'll probably put a picture here, maybe do some journaling down here. I just love this trim. Another pocket. Okay, so I do have a lot of different trims to choose from. This I made into a pocket just to tuck something underneath. Okay, so that gives you an idea of the laces. So then after laces, I'm going to start adding some paper. Now, I do have some scraps of the blue fern, and so I want to make sure I use every last piece of that. I'm trying to decide if I should, I'll do one that's already put together. Let me do this one. All right, so I'm going to look for some of my papers that I had. I also had some of these pouches or pockets that have the tie, and I took some Tim Holtz Distress, used some trim and some of my ephemera. So I put a hinge on it so that I can glue that on one of the pages, and then I'll cover it with paper. So that's another thing you can do if you want little half pages here and there and you don't have enough to fold it in half so that there's one on the front and the other side's on the back. I have some cards. I'll probably add some fabric on this and fold it over and clip it on and maybe use some stamps on here. I have some Tim Holtz ephemera, and this is Tim Holtz too, I think. So I just pull random things that I have. This is an actual photograph. I got it at a flea market. So I think that would be cool even on the front page as like a focal point. I like to collect ephemera pictures, or excuse me, vintage pictures of women like the 20s and 30s. I think they're so cool. This one doesn't have a date on it. Let's see, what else do I have? A card. I have some more music sheets that I just, you can take your Tim Holtz or whatever kind of ink you use and just kind of rough it up and make it look a little bit older. I have more bags that I can do something with. I had some paper and some journaling cards from another collection, and I just sewed it on. And I can trim that to make it fit. This is another real photograph. Oh, I just love them. Some people think it's creepy to have other people's pictures, but I love it. Here's a little coin envelope, and I sewed around some music paper and a little piece of decorative paper. This I turned into a pocket, so it's a piece of music. Oh, I sewed through 2 pieces. I didn't know that. So I left it open one side so I can tuck something in there, and I guess I can tuck something in here too, because I guess I did 2 pieces. What else? I have a library card. I got a bunch of these from my school when they quit using these, and they already have adhesive on the back, so I lucked out. And I just kind of glued that down and did some zigzag stitch around the edge. So just little things like that to decorate your pages. So after I do the trim, I'm going to do some paper, and then after the paper I'm going to do some other embellishments, whether it's metals, ribbon, like tie bows, different things I have. I have some, I got this from somebody was selling it, I don't know, but I can use some of these cutouts. Ooh, I wouldn't use cats, but sorry if you're a cat lover. You know, like things like this, they're just punch outs I can use. Definitely going to be using the ephemera from the collection. I could even add, so like if you use something like this, then you just start layering. So then you can add some of the ephemera. Let's see what else I could add on that one. Like so. Okay, so that's a fun part. That really adds a lot of excitement to your book. I'm trying to think if there's anything else I use. I'll be using this stamp some more, and I'll just be putting, like I could just stamp here on the library card. That one I might use. So it gets kind of messy on my desk because I have so much stuff to use. So here's some of my paper that I didn't use all of, so I might trim that up and just glue it at the bottom and either make it a pocket or just use it as a way to start layering some things. So keep all your scraps because you can always use them. I like that side. Okay. And I also am going to be using these for some tags that I tuck into some of my pockets, and I'll decorate these too. So I don't want to do all the decorating on camera. I think it's kind of boring to sit and watch somebody glue things, but I will show you the end result after I'm done decorating, but at least you can kind of see the process of what I'm doing. Okay. And then I am going to attach it to my book a little bit differently. There's different ways to do it. This one I don't know if I said this already in another earlier on, but I'm not going to do holes on the spine on this one. I have chosen to attach them so that I can take them in and out and add and delete things as I want to. So I'm just going to be putting seam binding in the center of my book and wrapping it around and then attaching it to my book and then having it tie it in a knot, and then at the bottom you'll have some dangly trim. So let me do the decorating with the different layers of things that I have, and then I'll come back and show you that, and then I'll show you how to attach it to the book. Okay, you guys, my book has turned into a beast. It's huge, so I had to come up with a plan B. The 4 signatures are not going to fit, and actually 3 is pretty crowded because the more lace you add, the fatter your books get, and I do like to embellish a little bit. So let me show you what I did with one of the signatures, and then I'll show you how I'm going to attach these. Now remember this, what was this spine, like 3.5? No, not 3.5. Yeah, it was a 3-inch spine. Yeah, it became huge. So let me show you what I did. I took one of the signatures and I just am going to make this like a separate journal. And I used the seam binding to close it, and or bind it, I guess you would say, and then I attached some jewels at the bottom. So this is a book by itself. Now, originally I had made these for the inside cover of the album. Again, album's too fat, so I'm going to attach those to this book. Okay, and so then this will just be a separate journal, which is totally fine with me. But it's not what I had expected. I like to embellish with lace a lot, so anyway. And then I'll put the other one back here, and it's still chunky, and that's okay. But that's going to be maybe a journal I set next to my bed and write in. Okay, so that's what I had to do with one of the signatures. So now the next thing I'm going to be doing is I have some graphic 45 tags, and I have the die that cuts out the matting exactly the right size, and that can be purchased at Country Craft Creations. And so I did a pattern piece on the front and a solid on the back, and so this can be for journaling or writing. But I have some pockets in my junk journal, and I might add some of these, but for right now I'm planning on decorating these lightly, not thick, just small flat embellishments. I cannot go crazy on these. And then as I write them, I might stick them inside of the pockets in my junk journal. So here see, each one of these is pretty chubby. I'm going to show you how I'm going to attach these. And what you're going to want to do is get some seam binding, and this is probably close to a yard. Okay, because my book is, remember my pages, or the height of my book is about 8.5 inches tall. So then with the seam binding, and there's all sorts of colors at Country Craft Creations that you can choose from, and Tammy can help you find the colors that match too. When you buy the paper from her, she can help you with the matching. So I just spray my hand with water and have the ribbon in there, the seam binding, and I just roll it around. I don't want it, I like it to look a little bit more vintage. Okay, and then when you're done, it's going to be crinkled. Okay, and so I'm going to find I'm actually going to do yeah, that's right. So this, nope, not that one. This one is actually the thinnest one I have. But I'm going to open it up and find the center. And this one happens to be right here. And I'm going to thread this through, or just run it through. And I want to make sure that I pull it tight. And that okay. And I'm going to start at the back of my book. And I'm going to put the seam binding on the outside of the cover, and then the inside piece is hanging down. And I'm going to bring it around, and I'm going to tie it at the bottom. Now, the reason why I'm doing this is so that I can add signatures once I fill these up. I can take away papers, add papers, because I want this book to be something I can use not just once, but continue to use. So once I write in a signature, I can take it out and put in a new one. Okay, so you are going to see the seam binding on the side, and that's okay with me. And then I'm just going to pull it tight, and I'm going to tie it in a knot down at the bottom. Make sure it's tight. And you might need another person for another hand. But the good thing is you can always go back and then just tie it in a knot. Oops, sorry, I was off camera. And then if you want, you can hang charms from the bottom. Okay, so I did a walkthrough at the beginning, so you're going to see how chunky this book is. But that's all I did for my tying in my signatures. I did not poke any holes. Okay, so that I'm going to go ahead and finish putting the other two signatures in. But just as a reminder, look at how fat this book is going to be. And that is why I'm only doing 3 signatures, not 4, and why I put those little wallets in the other signature instead of this one, because this puppy's too big. Okay. All right. So this tutorial was a little bit different. It was more of a process, how I do each page more. I don't look at one page of my signature and decorate the whole thing. I kind of did it in layers. So first I went through and did my stamping. Then I went through and did my lace. Then I went through my pages and did the paper things. And then I went through and did any additional bows, medals, stickers, whatever. So that's how I do my junk journals. So if you have any questions, let me know. This was a fun project, and it's kind of freeing because you don't really have to worry about everything being perfect and neat. So this is something you might want to try. If you have questions, let me know. But you cannot go wrong with this paper. This paper is beautiful. And again, it was called Jane's Memoirs, and you can find it at countrycraftcreations.com. All right, everybody, thanks and have a fabulous day.